During my trip to Japan last year, I got to see the Toyota CHR on the road in Hiroshima, and I was like, wow, that's an edgy looking Toyota. How I wish we could get something like that in Manila. Well, fast forward to now, and we still don't have the Toyota CHR. However, we do get something a little bit bigger. Meet the bigger, brawnier, more mature brother of the Toyota CHR, the Toyota Corolla Cross in hybrid. Let's do this. Hello guys, I'm Reagan and we are back here at Toyota Valenzuela to do a full-blown car review and test drive of the all-new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. Toyota Valenzuela is the newest Toyota dealership in the metro, and I'm blown away by the size of their facility, from their customer lounge that looks like a hotel lobby to their massive service bay that has state-of-the-art equipment. So if you want to check out the Corolla Cross in the flesh, or you just have a craving for anything Toyota, well, head on down to Toyota Valenzuela and check them out. Now, while hybrid vehicles haven't really taken off in the local market due to less than favorable government policies towards these environmentally friendly vehicles, Toyota hasn't really given up the fight when it comes to bringing in more eco-friendly options for the local buyer. The fact that we have the Corolla Cross Hybrid right here is proof of Toyota's relentlessness when it comes to bringing the Filipino a better and greener driving option. Now, this Corolla Cross is a subcompact crossover that slots in between the larger Toyota Rav4 and the smaller Toyota CHR. However, since we do not get the CHR here in the local market, then the Corolla Cross takes the title as the smallest crossover to wear the Toyota badge, at least here in the local market. Now, this top-spec Corolla Cross Hybrid I have here is competitively priced at 1,650,000 Philippine pesos. And if you want it in this nice white pearl option, well, you'll have to pony up another 15,000 Philippine pesos for this type of paint. Now, that competitive pricing strategy for this hybrid model has its sights squarely on another hybrid crossover that was recently introduced in the market, and that would be the Geely Azkara Hybrid. Now, Toyotas have often been accused as boring cars to the point that some people even call them appliances on wheels. So it seems that Toyota has listened to its customers, because the latest offerings from this giant car maker has featured designs that are well edgy and progressive. The Corolla Cross that I have here shares in this design direction, and it has an extremely aggressive front face. It starts off with this gaping front grille here that is reminiscent of a samurai warrior's mask, or even the open mouth of a catfish. Depends on how you look at it. Now, some Toyota purists might not really like this overall design, but personally looking at it, it appeals to the youthful side of me because it looks futuristic, edgy, and progressive. Now, one design feature that doesn't sit well with me, though, is the way they created this front plastic cladding here and the way it meets, well, the bottom part of your front grille. It has a look that it looks like it's pouting with the chin up, like it's trying to say, Now, guys, if you include the squinty headlights that we have here, the overall look seems like the look of your wife after you try to sneak into the house when you had a late night with the boys. Now, kidding aside, guys, if you look at the headlights though, these headlight units here are really gorgeous, and I love how they integrated the LED DRLs here, and you have this nice blue accent here that highlights the eco-warrior nature of the Corolla Cross Hybrid. You get LED headlights here and LED fog lights as well at the bottom. So when you look at the overall front fascia of the Corolla Cross, it looks like it's ready to pick a fight against the up-and-coming Chinese crossovers out there in the market. You also even have a pair of dimples here on the front bumper thrown in for a good measure. Grrr. Now, the side profile of the Corolla Cross is, well, muscular and aggressive as well. While this is essentially a lifted Corolla Altis, it doesn't really share much design cues with a smaller car. Rather, if you look at it from the side, it reminds me of the larger Rav4 than the smaller Altis. Now, you also get these over-bulging front and rear fender design here that reminds me of, well, muscles on steroids. Or better yet, voluptuous shoulders and hips. Yes, that is a better image to think of. Now, the good thing here is the Corolla Cross doesn't have a floating roof design, so it avoids that Range Rover Evoque bandwagon that a lot of crossovers seem to have nowadays. So kudos on Toyota for going with their own direction when it comes to the roof design. Now, you do get a chrome strip right here that thickens over here to the side, and it has the name Corolla Cross. Now, fun fact, the Corolla Cross has 7 badges that says Corolla Cross all over the exterior of the car. You got a couple found there over in the headlights, and you also have a couple that's found in the taillights, and a couple that's found in the chrome strip here, and the seventh one, of course, being the rear badge found at the liftgate of the Corolla Cross. Now, this vehicle also doesn't escape the black plastic cladding phenomenon, and we also have plastic cladding here, but they do have a very unique design. There are some bites taken out from the edges of the fenders to minimize the look. In fact, the design is pretty similar to the plastic claddings that's been found in the Toyota Rav4. Now, if you take your attention to the plastic cladding in the rear fender, you'll see that the cladding has taken a chunk out of the rear door as well. So when you open this rear door, some of the plastic cladding goes with it as well. I guess Toyota got tired of rowdy kids always slamming the door open and banging into walls or other cars, so they decided to fit the Cross with an anti-door ding feature right here. Now for wheels and tires, the top-spec hybrid gets 18 inches while the base variant gas only gets 17s. These 18-inch wheels are wrapped in 225/50 R18 Michelin Primacy tires. Now for ground clearance, you also get 161 millimeters of ground clearance, which is kind of low for a crossover. In fact, at that level, the Corolla Cross is really more like a station wagon than an actual crossover. Well, needless to say, you'll better leave your off-roading to the Toyota Fortuner or even the FJ Cruiser and keep the Corolla Cross Hybrid on paved roads. Now, the rear end of the Corolla Cross is much simpler than the one found up front. I love the thin LED taillights here, how it's just so simple and practical to look at. You also have this blue Toyota badge here that tells everybody that you're driving a hybrid. Oh yeah, and the word hybrid right there does the same job. Now, when we talk about badging, the Corolla Cross badge here in the center could have been executed a little bit better. It's kind of off how they put the small Corolla word here beside the larger cross. I mean, if it were up to me, I'd probably put the Corolla word here and move it here to the left side of the liftgate. However, by doing that and leaving the word cross here, most people would probably think that it's a ball pen rather than a crossover. Now, when you look at the rear bumper, it's mostly black plastic here. There's really not much garnishes except for this faux white rear skid plate here. You don't get any fake exhaust, you don't get any fake vents, just pure, simple, and practical, which is pretty much the Toyota way. Now, when you pop open the liftgate, you'll notice it's a manual operated liftgate, and when you see the trunk, this is the largest trunk that you can get in the subcompact crossover category. At 487 liters, it can accommodate a lot of stuff. How much stuff? Let's use my brand new suitcase test. So over here we have a large suitcase, and let's see how it fits inside. You can see it fits perfectly well with a lot of room to spare. So luckily I still have a carry-on suitcase right here, and we'll put that there. So as you can see, it has a lot of space. You could put another carry-on suitcase here and maybe some other small items in the sides. Now, if you have a couple of large suitcases, though, you'd be happy to know that you can tumble down the back seats, and that should give you more space. Now, let's head over to the front and check out the hybrid engine in all its glory. The Corolla Cross is the third vehicle in Toyota's stable that sports a hybrid technology, with the other two being the Corolla Altis hybrid and everybody's favorite Prius. Now, the motor we have here is a 1.8-liter Atkinson cycle hybrid petrol engine that's similar to the one found in the Altis. Now, this motor has a combined output of 120 horses and 142 Newton meters of torque, which is perfectly decent for a small city crossover. Now, if you're wondering why the power output of this top-spec hybrid is lower than the one found in the base model gas-only variant, well, do remember the hybrid variant gives you lesser trips to the gas pump. Now, you'll also notice that the headlight assembly here with the hood open, you'll see that the headlight assembly practically occupies the front half of the front fascia of this Corolla Cross. If you're looking for the front fenders, it's those tiny things over there. It's really neat and cool how they designed the headlight assembly to practically be your, well, front fenders. Now, the only transmission found in the Philippines is the CVT transmission, which further highlights the eco-warrior nature of this Corolla Cross Hybrid. And speaking of being an eco-warrior, its fuel economy is one of the best, if not the best, in the category. Combined, the city and highway fuel economy stands at 23 kilometers per liter, which totally demolishes the competition in the compact crossover category. Now, most Toyota cabins are Spartan and basic, but the Corolla Cross Hybrid's cabin is a huge step up, especially when it comes to interior cabin materials. You get this nice leather wrap, 8-way power adjustable driver's seat here, and the leather design is really good. Now, however, your passenger seats, well, you'll have to make do with manual adjustments. You also get this gorgeously wrapped leather steering wheel here, and you've got buttons on both sides that control, well, your Bluetooth calling, some buttons for your infotainment system, and some buttons as well for your Toyota Safety Sense Suite 2. Now, from your steering wheel, you've got this fully digital LED instrument gauge display. That's a huge step up from the other Corolla models out there or Toyota models out there. Now, this digital display also shows you whether your Cross is in charging mode or eco mode or power mode. Because remember guys, this car is so silent, especially when it's running on its electric motor, that you don't even know if the car has already started or not. So moving from your really fancy instrument gauge cluster here, you have this infotainment system screen that is also a big step up from its Toyota siblings, which normally sport a 7-inch AVT unit. This is now an 8-inch infotainment system that has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and it also has a voice command. The good thing about this 8-inch screen here is you've got a display that shows you the status of your hybrid system. It's either you're running on battery mode only, as you could see, or the engine is charging the battery, thus helping to keep the battery running in good shape. Now, from your really nifty 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system, you've got your dual zone climate control here, and you also have the shifter that connects to your CVT. Now, above the shifter, you've got 3 buttons here that are your drive mode buttons, and you have in the Corolla Cross Hybrid 3 drive modes. You've got a power mode, you've got an eco mode, and you also got a full EV mode or electric vehicle mode. In EV mode, well, it's only the electric motor that's running, and normally you could go on short distances in that mode, thus helping you save a lot of fuel, guys. Now, you also got a couple of cup holders here, and you also have a center armrest here that's also wrapped in leather. Now, when you look at the layout of the dashboard, this is practically a Corolla Altis layout, and you have the same materials that's been used. You've got soft touch plastics on your door panel and on your dashboard, and you've got a stitch design here on your center, or well, your middle dash, which looks like it's leather, but come on, Toyota, nobody gets fooled with this anymore. But otherwise, guys, given the fact that, well, this has a lot of these niceties and soft touch materials, this is really a pure, practical, simple yet elegant interior cabin for your Corolla Cross Hybrid. Now, let's head over to the back seat and see what kind of space and goodies you can find there. Now, the Corolla Cross Hybrid may be a subcompact crossover, but it sure doesn't feel like it, at least here in the back seat. I'm 5'6", and as you can see, I got a good amount of knee room here, a decent amount of leg room, and my head will probably take around 7 inches more before it touches the headliner. Now, you've got also a good amount of toys as well. You've got a couple of rear AC vents here, a couple of USB charging ports as well, and in your center armrest, you got a couple of cup holders. Now, if these 2 cup holders are not yet enough for you, well, you also have a cup holder here on the door, on both doors actually, which is a pretty, well, it's a pretty cool area where to put your cup holders. Now, for those with small kids, you'd be happy to know that the Corolla Cross Hybrid also has ISOFIX anchors, so that should help with your car seats and all that. Now, let's jump back to the driver's seat of this Corolla Cross Hybrid and take it around the Toyota Valenzuela complex just to give you a short driving impression of how it is to drive this hybrid cross. Let's go. Alright guys, we're now behind the wheel of the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. And well, we are just going to stay here inside the Toyota Valenzuela complex because this is not a demo unit, guys. This was just lent to me, so we can't really take it outside. However, this is still more than enough to get an initial driving impression because this place is huge, as you can see. We're now climbing up their parking ramp. And the first thing that I noticed, guys, is, well, the visibility is pretty decent, especially for, well, a subcompact crossover. The windshield is a little bit raked back, but it's not enough to stifle my visibility up front. When it comes to the windows, it's also quite decent. I got a good amount of visibility on the sides as well. Now the seats are quite supportive, and the seat height is also pretty decent. You don't feel like you're piloting a smaller car or a lower car despite having only 161 millimeters of ground clearance. So yeah, it's a crossover, and it also feels like a crossover, at least from here in the driver's seat. Now when it comes to the steering feel, well, the steering wheel is quite light, especially when I'm going on this. This is a parking lot speeds actually. It's like I'm going around the mall looking for a parking lot, and the steering wheel is quite light. Now we're going down a ramp, and let's see the braking. Yep, brakes are pretty strong. They have a good bite. And the brake pedal feel is also quite good. You don't feel like it's a mushy brake pedal. It's not. It's a pretty typical and standard brake pedal right here. Oops. Now while I won't be able to test this baby out in terms of handling, I do notice that the suspension feels a little bit on the soft side. There's a little bit of body wallow, even at this parking lot speed that I'm going through now. So I guess the suspension is really tuned more towards comfort than sporty handling, which is perfectly all right, especially since this is a subcompact crossover that's a hybrid as well. I mean, you've never seen anyone drag race a Prius, right? Now we're gonna try it on an uphill by going up this parking ramp to see what kind of pull this 120 horsepower hybrid engine can do. It does it pretty well. You don't get any issues at all when it comes to pulling power, despite being only at 142 Newton meters of torque. So yes, the numbers would fool you. You'd think that it would be down on power, but no, that's not the case with the Corolla Cross Hybrid. This baby has more than enough to pull its own weight, plus a full load of passengers when you're going up an uphill. Let's try it again on another parking ramp right here. Let's try this out now. Yep. See, the motor is so eager to pull that I kind of activated the stability control there a little bit. There you go, see? Easy peasy. This is a car that won't be lacking when it comes to power. So guys, with this short driving impression of the Corolla Cross Hybrid, I could tell that this is a fairly easy crossover to maneuver, especially when you're going around town in a tight city traffic. It's got a small footprint that you won't have a hard time maneuvering this thing in the city. And, well, it's got a soft enough suspension to, please a good range of buyers out there who don't really want a very jarring ride, because the ride is quite soft to the point that there's a little bit of body wallow here and there. But yeah, that's the Corolla Cross for you. So I really hope that I get a chance to take this out on the open road one day, maybe to really put it through its paces and see what kind of handling this baby can give us. So I don't know, paging Toyota Motor Philippines, maybe I could get a test unit sometime in the future. Anyway, let's go back to the outro, guys. The Corolla Cross Hybrid may not be as well equipped as other subcompact crossovers out in the market, but it has two phenomenal things going on for it. One, it's the class leader in the subcompact crossover segment when it comes to fuel economy. And two, you have the assurance of Toyota's legendary reliability and service life. The fact that it looks trendy and futuristic, well guys, that's just icing on the cake. Once again, thank you guys for watching one of my car reviews. If you like this review, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. I promise you guys I'll make it worth your while if you subscribe to Reagan's Rides. I'm Reagan, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.